and welcome to our series of interviews about Erasmus Key Action projects and the people involved in it at Koç University. Today we have Matthew Harpster, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Archaeology and History at Koç University and director of the Mustafa V Maritime Archaeology Research Center. He holds his degrees from George Washington University, University of St. Andrews, and Texas A&M University. His research interests are ancient Mediterranean maritime landscapes and communities, maritime archaeological theory and history, maritime cultural heritage management, Roman and Byzantine archaeology and history to the First Crusade, and the history of science and technology. Wow. So thank you, Matthew, for accepting our request to have this interview. So without further ado, I will just start with my questions. Okay. Could you please explain when, how, and why you got involved in an Erasmus Key Action 2 project?
Well, I think my involvement in the project began because I had already been involved in other projects with the OIP office. So, for example, working with Bourdieu and other people in the office, we established an Erasmus exchange with the University of Naples Orientale. We established another one with the University of Salerno nearby. So I was already familiar with the office and the various opportunities it suggested and that were available. And so I think the opportunity for the for the Erasmus program that we're working on now, which, by the way, is hopefully going to build a joint master's degree, that really started, I think, in two separate ways. One way was because I first thought about it in 2019, and that was a year before the beginning of what's known as the UN Decade for Ocean Science. And I had learned from my colleagues that this decade was coming and what the decade was planning to do, and they wanted to find ways to integrate the ocean sciences. And doing maritime archaeology, we often argue that we are doing a type of ocean science, but what we found within the plans of the decade was that maritime archaeology was not really represented at all. And so I think the idea for the joint masters through the OIP office on campus came about because if the UN decade is pushing people to integrate the ocean sciences, then making a joint master's degree seems to be a natural way to integrate the different disciplines that we're putting together.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. So could you also give some details on your role in the Erasmus Key Action 2 project you are currently involved in? What are the aims and what will be the results of the project you are involved in right now?
Well, presently, I'm the project lead in this program. And what we're hoping to do is to create a joint master's degree between three different universities. So we have Koç University, we have the University of Copenhagen, as well as the University of Oldenburg in Germany. And each of these universities has a different specialty, some example of the ocean sciences. So here at Koç, we do maritime archaeology. At the University of Oldenburg, they specialize in marine spatial planning. And at the University of Copenhagen, they have a specialized degree in climate science and climate change. Now, what we're hoping to do is to create a joint master's that integrates training in all three of those different disciplines because they are all fundamentally related. Marine spatial planning involves the various, it basically involves ways of balancing the different demands on the marine environment, both from people and nature. So maritime archaeological heritage, like shipwrecks or sites that are now submerged underwater, those are a demand on the space. So those two disciplines are very, very related. We have to find a way in which the heritage can be properly cared for without unduly burdening other people who are also trying to use the space. So those two disciplines, you could say, are the policy elements of what we're doing, but climate change and the environmental science is the context for what we're doing. So it's important to have that context to understand how these policies might have a short or medium or a long-term impact. Now, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, like it feels like a perfect match, like how you describe it. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I hope it works. I mean, so far we've been very lucky. We applied for what's called a design measure through Erasmus Mundus. We applied in 2021, and luckily this year we were awarded that grant. So that allows us to, it gives us support as we build all the apparatus and the infrastructure for the joint masters over the coming 12, 13, and 14 months. And naturally, what we hope to do after that is apply for the larger grant from Erasmus, which is the joint masters program. That will support the entire joint masters for 3, 4, 5 years. That will support the students' mobility. It'll support administrative fees and everything. And we're honestly, as you said, everything feels to fit together very well, but we're just hoping that everything works out and the people at Erasmus feel the same way.
Yeah, I hope so too. And how is OIP helping you out with the project?
Well, the OIP office is helping us out immensely, simply because their familiarity with the Erasmus program, the needs, the interests, what the coming demands are from the Erasmus and the European Commission. They're immensely familiar with the application process. I mean, I was lucky in that I had applied for and received a Marie Curie grant, before I arrived at Koç. So I'm comfortable making a big funding application, but nevertheless, what Erasmus is looking for is very different than what the Marie Curie program is looking for. With Marie Curie, they're looking for research. With Erasmus, it's naturally an emphasis on mobility and education and educational opportunities. So the OIP office, Oya, yourself, you've been really, really helpful in helping us navigate through the labyrinth of all the language and the paperwork and everything online. So it's been immensely helpful.
Thanks a lot. Is this project contributing to your research and, for instance, the papers you are writing?
It will contribute in some ways. I think this project really represents a new phase, both in our research and in my research, and a new element for the Maritime Archaeology program here. So as I've said, I think this is going to be something new within my career because it's bringing together these 3 disciplines that, to the best of my knowledge, haven't really been brought together before. So according to our research, as we've been building this application, there is no other opportunity within the European higher education area for someone to learn all of these different disciplines at the same time. So I know this will definitely be a new phase within my career. And I can tell these ideas, these efforts are definitely impacting my research as well, so that I'm thinking more about changes in the environment, changing sea levels, and how these anthropogenic factors such as people building seawalls or people's activities in the sea, how we might be able to look at the archaeological remnants of that material, but simultaneously it's making me think about how the people were reacting to the environment and then how it reflects changes in that environment as well.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and my last question, would you recommend your fellow Koç University academicians to get involved in an Erasmus Plus Key Action 2 project?
I would, and I think I have already.
Oh, okay, you did. Thanks.
Certainly, entirely. I mean, I think it's a good opportunity, and if you want to look at it in a very practical sense, the success rate is much better than an ERC grant. Okay. So in a very practical sense, there's that success rate, but more than that, I think the Erasmus programs are also valuable because in my case, they're making me think far beyond my normal specialty. And simultaneously, it's helping me to build a much larger professional network beyond my normal discipline, which I also find very helpful.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for your time and for this interview today. So have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Oya. I mean, thank you for the opportunity and all your help, and I really appreciate it.